So recently I was having a conversation online, and I ended up sort of trying to offer some advice to someone who was feeling a bit helpless. And I ended up saying that they needed to concentrate on the things that they could change and ignore the things that they can't. And since then, I've thought about this a lot. It's kind of becoming ingrained as a habit that when I'm thinking about my own problems, I remind myself of this phrase. So let's deal with the second part first, with ignoring the things that you can't control. The primary thing for me was that I needed to go on a news ban. I'd been watching the news, I'd been reading the news online, and I'd got in the habit of kind of doom scrolling and regularly reading this stuff and making myself feel really bad, because primarily I can't control these things. I mean, if I felt that I could, if I wanted to become a politician, then fair enough, I'd need to know about these things. But as I'm not, it's not really helping me at all. But the instinct is to want to know what's going on in the world, and you want to know about the things that might affect you. But my primary focus was on my own mental health, and was on making sure that I could maintain a positive attitude as much as possible. And sometimes I'd read just an item of news, and I'd just feel utterly depressed afterwards. I'd feel manipulated. And I tried to understand what was going on. I kept reading it to kind of see which part of it was really getting under my skin. And I came to the conclusion that these things are really well written, that somebody is making sure that within the way this is presented, they're making sure that it feels like it's designed to get under your skin. So I looked at some of these things and I tried to understand why it was that it got so badly under my skin, why it was making me feel that way, and to try and identify, where this was happening, which words were the ones that were making me feel that way. And I found it very hard to isolate the parts and to really understand which part of it was so manipulative. It's very well written and it's very cleverly done, so that you think you're just being informed, and you think that they're on your side and they're helping you by telling you what's going on. But ultimately they're not helping you, and they weren't helping me. It was making me feel utterly miserable. And one of the key parts of that was the helplessness, was that regardless of what's going on in the world and being done in my name with my tax money, I can't control it at all. I have barely any control over it, but I'm getting blamed for the things that are being done in my name, of course, because I live in a democracy, so I'm responsible for the things that get done on my behalf in my name. But if I had a say over any of those things would be very different. So ultimately, on and off over a period of time, I've been putting myself on a news ban and testing how that makes me feel, and seeing what difference it makes. And it's been pretty successful. A lot of the time I'd say to my girlfriend, I've got no idea what's going on in the world, and it's great, it's really good. And it shouldn't have to be that way, but unfortunately it is. But what matters to me is the things that I can control and the things that I can't control. And if the things I can't control are making me feel so bad that it's taking away my energy and my positivity and my ability to affect the things that I can control, then I don't want that to be my life story. I don't want to get to the end and think, oh well, my life was terrible, but that's just because I couldn't avoid reading news and bringing myself down and making myself feel miserable and helpless. That's not the life story I want. I want to at least be in control of what I consume, what I see, what I put in front of myself, and my mood ultimately. I want to be able to be as effective as possible and to be as successful as possible in the things that I try to do. So ignoring the things that you can't control, I'm using that term loosely because it's not just about ignoring things, it's also about letting things go. It's also about being philosophical about the things you can't change. The wind's blowing now, my camera's wobbling. I can't fix that. I could spend some time trying to stabilise this tripod that it's on, but ultimately I might have to just live with the fact that the wind's blowing now and hope that the video turns out okay. And that's an example of something that I've been trying to do a lot in my life on a much bigger scale, where I looked back at where I'd gone wrong and I realised that many of the places where I'd gone wrong, I was allowing the things that I can't control to make me feel sad. And then again, that was then impacting on my ability to change the things that I can control. And when it comes to the things that you can't control, sometimes it's other people, and very often other people are the reason for difficulties, because we need to work with other people in our lives, but we've got different needs, and sometimes those needs clash, and sometimes that clash can make life difficult. So it's important sometimes to remember about the things you can control, because you can't control what other people are going to do, and you can try and predict what they're going to do, but people are unpredictable sometimes. So if you think about what you can control, you can change how you react to other people, and that's really important. And I remember that lesson being hit home when I came across a guy called Viktor Frankl, who was in a concentration camp, and the kind of worst situation that it's almost possible to imagine. And after coming out of that, he wrote things, or I don't know if he wrote them when he was there, but either way, one of the key things that I learned from him was that it's important to remind yourself that no one can make you feel a certain way. They can do all sorts of things to you, but they can't force you to feel a certain way. So even if someone's doing terrible things to you, if you become really determined that you're going to be happy anyway, you're not going to get miserable about it, they're not going to take away your will to live, then that's really powerful. One of the key lessons I've learned in recent times, from reading a lot and then from applying some of those things and then finding success with them, is that sometimes it's the simplest little exercises that can help you to get to success. And one of them applies in this case, which is writing things down. Sometimes writing things down is just so important. Obviously you can hold ideas in your head, you can think about things, chew them over, but being able to put them down on paper can be really, really helpful. And there are various different ways that you can do this. I've been looking into journaling a lot recently because I started doing it and I found out just how helpful it was. And there are all sorts of different ways that you can do journaling, and this is the whole point. And with this subject today of the things you can control and the things you can't control, one really basic step you can take that can make a massive difference is that if you're really stuck and you really need to try and understand which things you can control and which you can't, and maybe if your thinking is foggy, if you can't get clarity, a really simple but effective way to do this is to just take a piece of paper and just make 2 columns. And in the one column, start writing down the things that you can control, and in the other column, write down the things that you can't, and see where that takes you. It's important to be open-minded about these things, and that's what I've learned, is to try things. You know, sometimes it feels silly and you think, oh, that's not going to work. And that voice in your head that says that, you need to tell it to go somewhere, because you need to try things. It's important to try things, and by doing this myself, that's how I've had quite a lot of success recently, is just trying things that at first I thought, well, that's never going to work, that's not going, the cynical side of me came to the fore, and it said, that's never going to work. And I got past that, and I just tried it anyway, because someone smarter than me had advised doing it. And then I found out that I was wrong. The cynical side of me needs to shut up, because it wasn't helping. It was stopping me from doing simple things that could really be effective and powerful. So I'm trying to be much more open to those things now. And I understand now that when you write things down, it has all sorts of powerful effects, and you can't always predict them. You need to do it to find out what they are. Like I said, a simple A-B, 2 columns. On the one side you've got a load of things, and on the other side you've got other things. And that can be really powerful. That helps me to quit smoking, because I took a piece of paper, and on the one side of the paper I wrote down all of the things that I was looking forward to once I'd given up smoking, such as not having yellow fingers anymore, not having bad breath, not coughing and being unhealthy, not spending all of that money. And on the flip side, it wasn't particularly clever. I just wrote the opposite. I just wrote down all the things that smoking was doing to me, that I was living with. And it was pretty much the reverse. It was that it was giving me yellow fingers, it was costing me a lot of money, it was making me unhealthy, it was causing me to have a cough. And after I gave up smoking, I don't know how many times I tried, it was many times, but when I finally did it on that occasion, I'm convinced that this act of writing it on the piece of paper was one of the most important things I did. And I think that idea came from a book by Alan Carr about giving up smoking that's really popular, I'm not sure. But either way, I remember that now. It's stuck in my mind because of how much value I got from that simple act of giving up smoking. It totally empowered me and made me a different person. So I now understand the power of writing things down. But it works on many other levels, as I found with journaling, that just writing things down, sometimes when you write things down, just the act of actually writing it down, I mean, sometimes it works well on the computer, just typing it, but other times physically writing it on a piece of paper, it implants it in your memory in a different way. So if you want to remember something, if you want to learn things, even if you just read a book that's telling you all about something, it kind of doubles the effect when you then write down your own notes. Because what happens is, when you try and write it in your own words, your brain goes through a process of putting it into your own words. And that process itself helps to cement it in your memory. So that's why writing things down can be really, really helpful if you want to try and learn something, if you want to remember something important. So in terms of being open-minded about how powerful writing things down can be, again, it's important to be open-minded about the things that you haven't discovered yet. So I spend time searching on the internet, just Googling and watching YouTube videos, trying to find other ways that people use to just very simple techniques of just making important things stick in their mind by simple tricks like writing them down. I'm interested in all these things. What do other people do? So tell me in the comments of this video, what do you do? Give me a good tip. What can I do to help me remember stuff, to help me to learn things when I come across really important things, profound things that help me in my life? What is a good way of committing them to memory, a simple way that anyone can do? Let me know. So when it comes to the things that we can't control and the things that we can control, and the second one of those, I guess what's important to think about is, if we are focusing all our energy on the things that we can control, are we able to do that better? Are we able to control them better? So obviously that then gets into the topic of learning better habits, getting rid of bad ones. But I believe it's a subject that everybody should be interested in learning about, is how can we become really good at controlling the things that we can control? Can we have a better diet? Can we be more healthy with fitness and exercise? All these things, it's about becoming an expert really in the things that we can control and focusing on them. Because one of the things that's so profound about this, thinking about what the things we can control and things we can't, is that when you focus on the things you can't control, it makes you feel helpless. So when you then do the opposite and you focus on the things you can control, it makes you feel the opposite of helpless. It empowers you. And to succeed in life, you want to be as empowered as possible. And to be empowered, you need to increase your abilities. The more abilities that you've got, the more empowered you feel. And then the more you can take on courageous challenges, the more you can be really ambitious and feel confident that you can actually achieve those goals. So that's one of the key points here. That's one of the reasons that I'm sitting on this log talking about these things, is because when I made big changes in my life, I know I started by looking at what had already happened in my life, and I tried to understand where things had gone wrong, where I could have done them better. When I started reading a lot of books and understanding how other people had successful lives, then I really started to understand the power, the negative power, of spending your time focusing on the things that you can't control. Because I'd done that a lot. I suffered from anxiety, at times I felt depressed, and a lot of this was coming from where I was applying my focus. I was looking at the things I couldn't control, and I was feeling sad about that. And what other people were doing was they were moving on as quickly as they could from that feeling. They recognize it, acknowledge it, but then say, I'm not going to spend any time stuck in this zone. So what do I do instead? I focus on the things that I can control, the things I can change, the things I can make better. And that's the key point of this. That's why I'm sitting here, is to try and inspire people to, when they get stuck, when they encounter a problem, if they're feeling really stuck and unhappy, they don't know where to turn, and they just want some inspiration, one of the things that you can try to get out of that hole is to just stop for a moment and think, okay, focus on the things you can control and ignore the things that you can't control. And if that doesn't take you forward, just thinking about that rule, the next step is to say, okay, what are these things? What is it right now that's bringing me down, that's causing me a problem that I need to stop thinking about? I need to stop focusing on it. I need to put it to one side, put it in a box and leave it there for a while. I can always come back to it. And what are the things that I should instead focus on? And as I said, there are various ways of doing that, and if you really want to go deep into it, start writing it down. Go as deep as you want. Make huge lists of all the things and think about them, and make a mind map, make side notes, do whatever you need to do to get this clarity. Get clarity on which things you can afford to ignore and which things you need to ignore and which things you need to focus on. And then concentrate on working out what to do with that focus, with those things that you want to focus on. How can you do them better? So if you like this and you like this idea, then maybe take it further. This is what I've been trying to do, is that with any kind of rule that I find keeps coming, I come across a rule for making my life better, and I find that it keeps cropping up again. Once I think about it, then it keeps coming back, and whenever I'm trying to do things, I keep thinking, hey, that rule keeps coming back. Then it's becoming part of me, it's becoming part of my identity. And now I'm actively looking for new rules that I can apply to my life that have really positive effects. Sometimes from people much smarter than me, people who've had much better lives, they've written books about it. And if they write something really profound and it's like a golden rule to their life, then I sometimes try and make that a golden rule of my life too. It's okay to steal those things from other people because there's no loss, and most good people want to share those things anyway. That's why they put them in the book. So take them and make them yours too. Make them a rule of your life. And use the methods I said. Practice them, write things down, be open-minded about things, test things out. And if you just have a phrase that really fits, put it in front of you all the time. Write it on things, write it on your hand, write it on a little piece of paper and stick it on your monitor so you see it every single day. And see if you can embed it as part of you, as part of your identity, so that you live by that rule. Because this fits the rule we're talking about, is focusing on the things that you can change. Well, you can change yourself, you can change your identity, you can become better at things, and you can take a helpful rule and make it part of your life and make it part of you. And this is what I do now. This is what I try and do, is to come across as much really smart knowledge that people have acquired through going through hardship in their lives and use it to help me. And I guess this is what I do for my work now, is because I try and take those things and I try and express them in a way where they help other people. That's a really nice bird song. So I hope you found something helpful within this video. I hope you enjoyed this lovely scenery and the nice bird song. I'm enjoying it, I know that. And if you really like this video and you found it helpful, please like and please subscribe to my channel. It always helps me to make more of these. So thank you very much for watching.